Hey everybody, this is Petey from the Spinner Rack, and today I'm doing a video on Monica Rambeau, Captain Marvel. Marvel did there's a nice video that was on there. I've done a couple videos in the past. We've done a couple videos in the past, and I did my casting for it, but they found a nice cast person for the Captain Marvel. But I want to go through a few key issues. Um, at least for me, for Captain Marvel. I never bought into the Pulsar, Photon, those sort of names. They were less dynamic. I always felt that they should have came up with something a little more, like the closest thing I could come up with was Starlight, and I think at some point I did a mock cover using the Captain America, Captain Marvel. No, forget what I used to make the logo. I thought that would be a little more dynamic than Pulsar or Photon. But let's move on. So here we have, this is Spider-Man Annual number 16, king size annual. But this one was introduced as like a regular in the regular numbering. This is the first image I saw as a kid. And I didn't know what this was, but it was something that I had to have my mother. I guess my mother got this for me, and this is right when I'm on the edge of still buying Spider-Man comic books because he just got too tough for me to kind of pay attention to, right? Because it was less fun. But this issue was a really nice one, right? So I bought this for the cover because I liked it. I think the last one I bought was Spider-Man 223, where he fights the tarantula and basically mops the floor with him. So I kind of just gave up on it because I could figure out the ending that Spider-Man was just going to beat the hell out of people. This one has a tiny bit of that, but it has the classic Spider-Man run into someone he doesn't know. So we get the exciting origin of all new, all different, all terrific Captain Marvel, right? So we go into this and we see Peter Parker. And this one is done by Roger Stern, the Romitas, John Romita Jr. and Sr. John Romita is not actually a senior. John Romita Jr. is not actually a junior. They have different middle names, I believe. But as far as the comics goes, they're senior and junior, right? And like this one, the stuff is so good. And then at that point, I think it's not until I think the X-Men where the bloom came off the rose for John Romita Jr. and fans were kind of like he was not his father, but the storytelling was always there, right? So it's one of the things where he was doing Iron Man, he was doing Spider-Man, I think some other stuff. But then when he was doing the X-Men, came right under the firing lines of all the fans following Byrne and Paul and Cockrum and Paul Smith. But I think as a storyteller, his storytelling thing was still amazing. So it didn't take me too long not to fall back in love with his art, which I allowed here, but obviously it's embellished by his father. But at the same time, it's kind of it's interesting as a fan as you go high to low, and then following with the Star brand, and then thinking, the Star brand ran out of steam, and then buying some of Daredevil, but it was kind of, what was it? There's some issues that I didn't like, but it was more story than art. And then his return to Iron Man was just amazing. So as a finicky kid, that's what you go through, and you find any reason why you can turn away from some artist for some dumb reason. But John Romita Jr. is one of the greats, right? So Spider sense is going off, doesn't know why, and he just realizes that maybe his spider sense is going off because of that she's a babe, right? But at the same time, he has some time, he's gonna follow her, right? So she's walking in the city, and runs off. And as usual, if you're in Mar-vell, you're gonna get accosted. But this is around the time where women would be accosted all the time. And I think this happened. Well, actually, I've been with my mother in New York City because she moved to Harlem because she grew up in Harlem and she decided to move back to 128th Street between what was it, Lenox and Adam Clayton Powell Boulevard. And then at some point she moved to 26th Street on Lenox. But and she'd been through this, been robbed, bag steals, fought back against that sort of thing. So this is comparable to the time, even though people like to say tropes and this, that, and the other. This is what would happen, right? Actually, my mom would curse them out and say, I was born here," type of deal. But anyway, um, she gets accosted, and she's fairly tall. She's chasing the guy, but at the same time, it was a plan to get her to follow them, right? And I already said I thought this Captain Marvel looked like Karen Alexander, the model, and I had her picture from Elle magazine on my wall, but she's pretty tough, right? So he pulls out a blade, and she moves faster than they can see, and she takes them out, right? At the same time, the other guy is bolting. He's not even gonna mess around with her, right? At the same time, Spider-Man shows up. When Spider-Man shows up, his spider senses is going off, but he goes to talk to her, and then she uses her power on him, right? And this is our first meeting. He's known as the Outlaw Adventurer because of the what's the name? But it didn't mean to hurt her, right? Hurt him, right? So she transforms. She puts on a costume, and Spider-Man, as he's waking up, it's like kaboom. And this is trying to show you light speed. And this is why I picked out these issues. These issues is what I want the I want the movie to play with. But this isn't like the Monica Rambeau or the Miss Marvel. She is the energy Avenger. So right here, you see that instantaneously she's transported with the speed of light to this nice shot that could have been the cover, right? So this is call her Captain Marvel, right? So like the Fantastic Four, after the initial start of the story, they would get into the origin, and she's from New Orleans. And regretfully, I found out some crazy news about New Orleans. I mean, obviously, it has um, French history to it. But at the same time, for the town, it was a description of food or cheap food. So it's kind of tough to kind of get into that. But let's keep moving on. So we have Mardi Gras. We have the district here, the French Quarter. We see all the cool, nice banks in here. And we see Lieutenant Rambeau, and she's here. She's hard nosed, obviously, like not with a like John Rambeau. It's spelled with a little Louisiana twist on it. And she has the going against the a-hole captain, right? She wants a promotion, but it's not gonna happen for her, right? She wants to know why she's being passed, and her method's a little too unorthodox. And then next thing you know, she goes out and she's pretty much upset, right? So this is to show you that she's a tough cop, right? And I stopped here, and I think I fell in love on the first page, and then I fell in love right here in this panel, right? So he runs into Professor LeClaire, right? Went to war with his father. But basically, since she's kind of unorthodox, comes in and tells him about someone that this Generalissimo Ernesto Ramirez, and he's working with this other dude, right? And she's listening to the story. And since she was known for an unorthodox manner, maybe she could help with these guys. They got some of his technology, I believe, that's in here. I'm trying to use it as a weapon. And he said, "You're not the only one who made that observation about her being unorthodox. But maybe she'll figure it out." So she gets on the boat, tells him to hide, and he starts calling her captain, and he says, "Don't I wish?" So this is another aspect to the character where she has something to live up to, which is cool, right? So we have a rig, and these guys, they're saying she can't be there, but she's a total babe. So what do you have to do? You got to bring her on there. Fell in love yet again, and they made an exception, and Caro brings her up, right? She comes up, and she has a lunch date on the rig, and then here's some break-in, and Carl realizes that she possibly is a part of this break-in, right? And they catch the scientists, right? I mean, we're gonna use this thing to make Georgia not exist anymore, right? And she takes action. She decides to destroy it, and boom, right? 2 seconds after punching into this thing, she's blasted off to the side. And she doesn't even know what happened, right? And it's similar to the Fantastic Four, where she utilizes power without knowing it, right? And she's walking around hot to death in a bikini. She utilizes this radio equipment, but her powers can fuel it and overpower it even without any connection, right? So she calls for help, right? Because it rocks and all to that they have something bad. So she's like, "Well, I got to get back into action." And she finds a Mardi Gras outfit, which conveniently looks just like a superhero outfit, and she knows what she has to do, right? She uses her power. She gets back. She sees everyone's gone. Everyone's almost dead, and then this guy is dead, and now a vortex is happening, right? And he's about to die, and she's not knows it's unstable. Like this sort of thing, someone has to figure this out and figure out how to plug it, right? But at the same time, she gets pulled into it. And as she gets pulled into it, she sees Carl about to kill the scientist, and at light speed, she's able to catch it, stop that, and she calms down this thing. And then they call it Captain Miss Marilla, right? So she's able to stop everything, and she's moving on. He kind of tells her what her powers are, right? He says, what is it? One test prove conclusive that your body has been transubstantious. Oh man, I have to cut that out. Shoot. Transubstantiated. That your body was transubstantiated by a dimensional interface. What does that mean in simple English? What it means is you change your body into any form of electromagnetic energy. You can actually become a sentient packet of radio waves, light, even electricity. You can even go through solid objects as S-rays. You can travel at the speed of light. What's more, you can release small amounts of energies as a blast of pure energy with appreciable loss of body mass, with no appreciable of body mass. Excuse me for that, right? And he also redoes the costume, right? And made with unstable molecules, and They don't know who Captain Marvel is, right? But that's what the person called her, and she decides to duck out, right? So there we go. She leaves the job and she's gonna plan on her new thing. Right, so we cut back to the present day. She goes down. She realizes that something's going on with her powers, that she kind of needs help. Her powers, her energy is rising, and Spider-Man has been making his way to her. And he tries to catch her and going to flash a light, right? So he looks at where she's going and realizes Spider-Man doesn't have any money because things shut off. So he asks for money, shows the new Spider-Man, gets some money, and going to the Baxter building. Right? That was recently a mess. Right? Gets there and runs into the thing. Right? And they have a talk. Going up like a bomb that'll flatten the city. Right? So he wanted to contact Dr. Richards. And then next thing you know, they go on the Martha's Vineyard, right? So maybe the Avengers can help, right? So he punches the signal into the Avengers, and she immediately goes there. And here, Spider-Man describes the outfit. So we look at it and it says it's pink, right? Spider-Man says, "Have you seen a tall black lady in a silver and black jumpsuit?" Right? So you keep that in mind. These pink are just light highlights, right? And Thing tells Spider-Man that he's going to the Avengers mansion, and then he's like, he's gonna go give the Avengers a hand to stop her, and he's like, she's no menace. And then Iron Man is at the computer, and here comes Captain Marvel. And when Captain Marvel does that, all of the Avengers security thing stuff goes online. And she's knocked out Iron Man. Iron Man's not knocked out, but his arm is messed up, right? So she's like, she needs help. You need to reset circuit breakers. That's Iron Man saying it, right? And he's about to help her, but then Jarvis thinks that she's someone bad, but her powers are getting out of control. Of course, at this point, Spider-Man rushes in, and he asks, and he gets in there, and webs her up to stop her, and she gets out of it, right? And it says time is running out, but Spider-Man stops her somehow. And this, as a present day, I didn't get. Then, of course, he has to smack her up for no good reason. Of course, he thinks she's a bad guy, right? It just happens like that, right? I know people only say Reed Richards does this type of thing, but it happens, right? So she's overloaded, and Iron Man said, Jarvis is all Iron Man. I thought she, nope. They gotta figure out how to stop her. Stuff from blowing up the city. So Iron Man's gonna help her release the power, right? And then next thing you know, Iron Man is doing all this stuff. He said he must have triggered her. And Watts said, "Come on, you gotta." So Iron Man can contain Captain Marvel's powers. Captain Marvel? Did you say Captain Marvel? No relation to the old one. That's it, Jane. Did I doom the new Captain Marvel? I feel like a total class. Spider-Man, look, I've already sensed the danger. You what? Never mind. Right. So that was a cool Spider-Man moment, right? And Iron Man lets out all her energy, and they made it out. The Thing, of course, makes his way, and Captain Marvel meets Captain America. We have Spider-Man basking in the glory of the supposed mess that he had him in. Hawkeye's ready to play some cards with the Thing. And this is almost like they just let John Romita just do his thing. Because look at the Wasp, as cute as a button here. And Captain Marvel let Spider-Man off the hook. But then Spider-Man remember Liz. That's why he was at the bus station in the first place. He got there way early, right? And he runs into Harry and one of my favorite, Liz Allen, right? Who'll be Liz Osborne now. And they're walking their way out, right? And we see, and I bought this. I got to see the babe. I remember the babes, right? I don't remember Chrissy Ironwood, but I remember Glory Grant, of course, Gwen Stacy and Liz Allen. She looked a little older here. Betty always looks great. Obviously, Gwen looks great, and this is a really gorgeous Mary Jane. I liked how the what's it Jared Whitman, her thing sort of played out where she kind of just moved on. Lance Baden always taking Peter Parker's work, right? And there we go, right? So we got through that one. So on the other side, I guess we shouldn't do this. Let's do this Avengers, right? So somehow, soon after, I was real surprised. I bought this Avengers issue, and Captain Marvel was on this cover, so I bought this. Right? Or I had my mother bought this for me, right? I can't remember. Right? So here we got the Avengers Mansion, and Captain Marvel was there. And this is Roger Stearns. Is this his first issue? No, this isn't his first issue. Right? Because I think he was welcomed. Right? So she's utilizing her power. She travels, hits satellite to satellite, and she gets back instantaneously. I love this effect that he had for her. And Wasp sitting like the Wasp. So they like sign her up to be an Avenger, similar to how the Vision was, where it took like 2 seconds, right? And when I look at this, I was like, why doesn't Sal Buscema do more Avengers, right? So I think that's the key to this, is seeing those cool shots. And this Captain Marvel's hair isn't like an afro; it's a black woman's hair in a hairnet. So it's just kind of, you see the way the movie star is. She has a big hair, but she has a part. You take the hair and you go back like that. Oh, I should have had this a little bigger, but sorry guys, blew it. Anyway, she gets the information about the original Captain Marvel, right? Right, and there's some cool shots of Fantastic Four. I didn't understand why Salvatore didn't do some Fantastic Four either, right? And so this is more of a subplot thing and gets to the history of Hank Pym. So I just want to show you some cool shots of her and the same, and her utilizing the power with the energy sort of effects, right? So since there we have that, let's go to this one where John Byrne helps out and does some shots with her, right? When we open up, she's traveling through the city, right? And the Annihilation Gambit, John Byrne co-plotted this. Roger Stern scripted all this, and Byrne, I think, scripted the Fantastic Four scene. So here we have a shot, and she hits the null field, right? You can't see it, but you can pass through it. And she didn't understand why she couldn't pass through it, because light is passing through it, right? So she sends herself to the ground. This was an example of how to do comics. You have her trail of light, like a beam of light, but at the same time, we see her here on this page where we see her, nothing around her, it lets you know that she's in the air, and then now she's on the ground. And then I was like, I noticed she was stacked in the Spider-Man comic, and she's stacked in the under Byrne's pencil. So I was like, wow. Right? So, and this was another cool shot. I felt that could have been like her her corner piece right there. She had her own comic book. She was able to change to all these different forms of light, even gamma rays, which gamma rays be able to hurt the or penetrate the null field. Hence, the Hulk is how so much powerful, more powerful than cosmic rays, right? And she moves on. She goes back to Avengers Mansion. All that is happening in an instant, and that's why I brought this up, to let you know you can see Byrne is really playing with the speed of light, and that's part of the energy Avenger power, right? So they'll get the call. Annihilus is messing with Alicia, but he doesn't realize Alicia can't see, and seeing the people trying to affect the field, and all these great powerful people can't do anything to the field, right? Not even Thor, right? So Thor has to go to the sidelines, and Hawkeye is gonna work his way back to the Avengers. Vision, of course, gets stopped by this thing, and there's a great, and I should put it here. There's a great animation. I don't know if they did this is part of the issue, but I'll check to see if they did it. I hope they did, right? And then Star Fox, who's hitting on some girl, right? And because he's only in training as an Avenger, so he's on the sidelines, and he sees something and he realizes it's the end of everything. We got to get rid of this thing, right? And he's saying that the null field is expanding, and if there's another one that comes in, it could become, the two could crash and then end everything, right? A null field and a positive field at the same time. So he's like, you got to figure a way to break it. He said, hey, use the gamma rays. Yeah, so there's still some hope. Right. So Annihilus is making his last demands that he's going to destroy everything with no plans or anything else. So she goes out in space, goes around the sun to build the speed as again turns into gamma rays, and she's shooting like a gamma laser, right? All power, and she's able to break through. So now while we're here with that, let's go to the Fantastic Four, right? Just so you know what's going on with the story. How long am I going to go on here? Probably longer than I need to, but right? So here's the Fantastic Four that coincides with this. The Annihilation Gambit, right? So we have the Fantastic Four facing their death, right? They are hitting the interface between the Earth and the negative zone. No one on the other side knows what's going on, right? So Ben says, face it, Stress Show. This time your highfalutin scientific ideas lend us in the fire, but good. He said, Thing, please keep your usual cussed comments to yourself. My mind is here in my true body only because it's being transmitted from the sonic matrix aboard the alien ship that we captured, and I am controlling that ship. With my slightest thought, I could, I must be carefully controlled unless the ship respond to it. With the array of weapons aboard, I can inadvertently blast you to atoms. So was that a threat? No, just a warning. And this is one of the best Fantastic Four issues because we have Reed in a place where he can't win. Like he already knows, and he is prepping like he's gonna figure out how to say that. Nope, don't worry. This is dangerous, but you know, right? So at the same time, Johnny's trying to help him. Media's coming by them because for some reason gravity is different, and they are drawing sort of things towards them, right? So Johnny destroys it, but then of course there's a bunch of debris that's hot as piping hot, but Sue's able to take care of it, right? And then Sue is like, I don't trust you at this point. When you start talking like this, I know we're gonna be, there's a good chance we might not make it out of this. Like, don't worry, he's trying to, but at the same time, it's worse than he feared, right? And he has to keep going deeper. And he's like, oh no, the signal from Manhattan from their headquarters. He realizes what we see on the other side of the null field, right? So at the same time, you see they were interacting with the Baxter building, and they see all these planetoids coming towards Reed. So Ben is like, I'm gonna destroy some areas of the ship to get a weapon, and this might be the part of the ship that had his mother's eyes. But anyway, we're gonna keep moving on, right? or memory of his mother's eyes, right? So Ben makes a nice long. Now he does pool and destroys a bunch of them that are converging on Reed, and one right next to him. And he's realized up. Said blast. Despite Sue's warning, I will allow myself to become too involved. I've jeopardized myself and the others. And without me, they have no chance of ever coming home. Even with me, our chances are even slight and diminishing, right? So we go back to it's something that's going to be the annihilation of everything, right? So they don't have any real idea. Then we have this interlude here, right? Where we have some Skrulls and they fire upon Nova because they have to, but at the same time, when Nova's about to take them out, goes back to Galactus and say, we need to find a planet, and she sends a Skrull homeworld, right? Now this was a sidebar. This has been a thing that wasn't planned. Basically, in the X-Men, who was it? Landra said that Reed Richard would be punished if Galactus ate another world, and Byrne was like, "What the hell?" In the X, you let that happen in an X-Men shooter, and Shooter was like, "We'll make a story out of it." So he did, right? So the Skrull homeworld was in danger, but that's a subplot, right? Cool shot by Herb Trimpe, rest in peace. And Reed comes up with making a field on the other side, right? So he makes some this, and he realizes, wait a second, they're looking at it, and they said, looking at it looks like our headquarters. And he's like, yep, they're realizing they're closer to death than they've ever been. And so even though his field, the plan is to take energy from the field in the positive world, in our Earth, Annihilus can sort of maybe be able to do something to stop it, but then at the same time, you see Captain Mar-vell break in and bam, look what happened. Totally messed up. Broke down the field, her breaking in and Reed doing his thing, and then it destroys his armor. But he's going to manually try to do something to destroy the Fantastic Four. The Fantastic Four have to dive into the interface because there's nothing else for them to do. There's no way to get out of the negative zone, but at the same time, Annihilus is drawn back into it, and he goes, and we see his body fall against. Well, we've seen so many things be destroyed against the interface in this. And then we have bang, right? They're there, and I just was like, wait a second, look at this drawing here. Maybe Byrne should have inked the whole the Avengers issue, but at the same time, it's done by Joe Sinnott. So, and their costumes have gone negative, right? Now, I think Eric Larson called Byrne a task because he said you go negative, it'd be like orange and another color. But this is comics, right? And this is a negative zone. So their costumes became black and white with blue highlights, right? So taking the black, that was white, and taking the blue, which would be like, it's like going from a negative, right? If it was a negative image of total that, it would be like a illumination inversion, right? So that's what's going on here, right? These are two of the hottest pictures ever of her. And I was like, wow. And then regretfully, Alicia's was stomped on by Annihilus, right? And Reed's able, and Johnny's able to take care of things, and Reed is just going over stuff. But this is to show you also that Reed wasn't, sure of everything, right? His mind gets switched back into, with this, this negative to positive. His mind was switched back into his head, and so he doesn't have to control it from the ship. But at the same time, he tries to be a man of action, and then Ben stops him, right? And that was the point of that page. I don't want to miss it, right? So she's trying to help. The Avengers bust in. Wasp also noticed their costumes. The Vision is in bad shape. and then at the same time, Franklin's in bad shape, and then the team goes off, but Vision, well, Vision is just he's repairing already, but obviously Scarlet Witch is worried about him. So we'll just finish just so you can see what happens here. At the same time when she broke through, we see that the field is gone. Dr. Don Blake picks up the hammer. Vision is a mess. They go to the Avengers. They run into it. We get to see the first of this time of Josina inking the Fantastic Four, which looks cool. Kind of seeing what it would have been had he stayed on the book, right? And then we see Franklin and we see the reversal, right? So anything else here? Oh, I wanted to go two quick things, and then we're going to be done. I don't know how long this is, right? Let's get this out of here for now. We're going to do this one. I showed you this one before. The War to End All Scrolls, right? The War to End All Scrolls. And we had the Clive Baker who did the inking on this. And I just want to show you one aspect of this because it's really cool. And this is a longer version of it, right? So when this scroll was in this containment field to keep him from losing his scroll powers, he was going to do something where all scrolls would be stuck in the form they are before the change, right? So once Captain America hears that, he says, "Ask Captain Marvel to shut down the thing," and Reed says no. And at the same time, we see Captain Marvel go in, and she's about to be torn apart. So she basically stops before before anything happened. And it's like a wow sort of factor. And this villain doesn't know why, but so that was a cool thing. And the last bit I'm going to show you is later, the Kurt Busiek thing where there was Avengers Infinity, where Captain Marvel was kind of the leader, but at this point she's Photon, and Tigress kind of said, "You should be the leader of this thing," right? So she became the leader of this thing, right? So they go out, they run into these the landers of Shire, right? This is all a part of maximum security. I just wanted to show you that she led the team because she was the team leader under what was it? What's that thing? Under Roger Stern's byline. She became the leader of the team, and then Mark Grunwald decided that she should fail as leader, and Captain America come back and fix things. He wouldn't go for it and got fired. She had not been on the Avengers, worrying about her mother all the time, and then she had one get back because the person who created her liked her and wanted her to be Avengers, so she joins Avengers Infinity, and ultimately she's the leader of this Avengers team, right? So I think that's it. I gave you some key issues. I wanted to also do X-Men versus Avengers because that has some nice Marcus Ventry arc. He did some good visual stuff with using the speed of light, which I think a lot of people forget, right? And that's the aspect of making her different from the other Captain Marvel. So ultimately, there we go. We got through it. I guess today say my final goodbyes. We had this here, right? So there we go. Spin rack is before I go here is out.